Well, a local news station in San Diego is accusing CNN, the cable news network, of rejecting a report by them because it didn't reach a pre-approved conclusion about the effectiveness of a border wall. Trace Gallagher has been following the story and joins us tonight. Hey, Trace.
Hey, Tucker, KUSI News Director Steve Cohen says he was notified during yesterday's morning meeting that CNN wanted to use one of their reporters for a live hit about the border wall during the Don Lemon show. Cohen said fine and offered them reporter Dan Plante. Look, I'm from San Diego. I've seen Dan many times. He's very solid. But Steve Cohen told his executive producer to make sure CNN realizes they won't deliver their narrative that the wall is controversial in San Diego, because it's not. In fact, KUSI owner Mike McKinnon, a very well-known supporter of conservative causes, later noted, quote, "We have continuously been told by Border Patrol agents that the barrier along the southern border helps prevent illegal entries, drugs, and weapons from entering the U.S., and the numbers prove it." CNN later decided not to use a KUSI reporter, but then the news director saw CNN correspondent Jim Acosta at the border saying there's no need for a wall. And Steve Cohen decided to have his anchors present the KUSI perspective. Watch.
CNN declined to have us on their programs, which often present the wall as not required in other places, like the stretch of the Texas border the president visited earlier today. They didn't like what they heard from us.
CNN calls it a non-story, saying, quote, "We called several local stations to book someone for a show. We didn't end up booking any of them. That happens many times every single day." KUSI says it's possible CNN didn't need a reporter, but given the scenario, it believes the cable network is being disingenuous. Tucker.
Trace Gallagher, great to see you. Thank you. There. When we saw the story, we thought, who better to talk to than Chris Plante, syndicated radio host with Westwood One, widely acknowledged genius, also the brother of the San Diego journalist you just heard about, and a longtime veteran of CNN. So he joins us tonight. We're happy to have him. Hey, Chris.
Hey, how are you? Yes, all of those things. Sounds pretty impressive.
So, I mean, you really are the perfect person. What are the lessons of this story? What does this tell us?
That CNN lies a lot. I mean, really, that's sort of the bottom line. Obviously, they were looking for a local reporter who was going to toe the line and say what CNN wanted to hear. And some person at CNN, probably a very young person, called KUSI, asked for a reporter. And then they heard, well, they're going to say that the Border Patrol people tell them that the wall really has a positive effect, the barriers, the fences, whatever you'd like to call it. And then they said, no, thank you. I mean, if this were a dating situation, speed date, I think everybody would recognize that CNN dropped them because they weren't going to offer what CNN wanted to hear. And we know what CNN wants to hear because we hear it every minute of every hour of every show, and it's very consistent. And this would, if someone came on and said, well, what we're hearing here in San Diego, and my brother Daniel has been covering San Diego and the border for years and years and years, many great stories available on Al Gore's amazing internet that you can see. And they wanted a different perspective than what my brother, as a news reporter, just a straight news reporter, my brother is not an ideologue, he's a news guy. But he wasn't going to spout the Democrat Party line. And CNN took a pass. No thanks. And they say there is no evidence. There is no evidence. Now the Associated Press is in and CNN is saying there's no evidence that CNN spiked the story for that reason. There was no evidence that Brett Kavanaugh put Quaaludes in the punch bowl and gang raped girls in high school, but CNN reported that several 100,000 times, if I remember correctly.
But they also, and I thought of you yesterday, CNN undercut its own storyline unintentionally by sending their most brilliant correspondent down to McAllen, Texas, who did this now famous stand-up explaining that the wall doesn't work because it creates too peaceful a scene. Back at headquarters in New York, what do you think the editors thought when they saw this? Who told Jim Acosta he just heard his own propaganda?
Honestly, I think that they were probably thinking that it was great. They put it on the air. This wasn't live. He sent it in, and they aired it because they thought this was going to prove their point for them. When and really, it speaks to the bubble that they live in, and the fact that they're just complaining. Once Twitter exploded and mocked him, then I think in New York, and they were saying, "Oh, wait a minute, maybe we should have looked at this with a slightly different angle." So then they sent him to another place where they're along the Rio Grande, where there is no fence, and he said people are playing shuffleboard, as though this were proof of his original point. It's sad, really. It's tragic. It's horrible. CNN, you used to work at CNN for a period of time.
I still have friends there. Yeah.
Yeah, but they won't admit that you're friends, and you shouldn't name them here because it would be fatal to their careers. And we all know this, right? That if you say, "Oh, my good friend, Steve at CNN," if I said that on my radio show, I know that I would be jeopardizing Steve's future. At CNN. I know this. I mean, it's that bad. It was a news organization. It's simply not anymore. It's just a cable television station that parrots the Democrat Party line. And it's sad. It's tragic. I feel kind of badly for the few good people that still work there.
So really quick, what do you think? I agree with your analysis. In one sentence, what happened? What changed?
To CNN?
Yeah.
John Klein, who's the president there. Yeah. But it started before him. I mean, honestly, it started when CNN was a pretty good news organization. They started bringing in ABC people. Rick Kaplan, you remember when Rick Kaplan came in, and you got to change the subject every 15 seconds, and short attention span theater, and we can't focus on anything for too long.
I remember.
They're very corporate-y.
I'll never forget.
The anti-corporate argument when it comes to CNN and Time Warner that the left makes is true. It actually applies at CNN, that they become too greedy and too corporate-y and too bottom line, and it's about revenues and not journalism, and it's just become a TV station, a cable station.
Depressing. Chris Plante, great to see you tonight. Thank you for that.
Thanks.